I'm a heavy believer in compound interest. I believe in the more you repeat doing something that's good, something comes out of it. So if it's that you're a serial networker and you say, okay, every Friday, I'm going to dedicate 2 hours to networking. You do that for enough years, you'll meet the people you want to meet. Any business I do, I take my ego out of it. The business is bigger than you. If there's somebody running your business, then respect the parameters because they're running your business. They know things that happen that you don't know. We believe we should do something different. And we believe I want to own 100% of the company because I'm the biggest boss in the world. No, you're not. You're not the smartest. People came before you. People did better than you. Why aren't we copying methods that work? You see something that's working, you copy it. It's not hard. Everybody wants to be the king of the hill, no problem. But everybody can be the king of the hill in their own private time. But are you getting the results that you want?
You're not defined by where you come from.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big message that I always want to tell people.
Like you have to be able to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
When you grow up in ends, you don't realize it when you're confident, but you have an audacity to do things that ordinarily most people wouldn't be willing to do.
Welcome back to another episode of podcast. We've got a special guest in the building, Darren, who is a property developer, investor and serial entrepreneur with over a decade experience where he has founded many businesses from real estate development to a hospitality brand in the US to an interior design business. Darren, how are you doing today?
I'm good. And you?
Yeah, I'm good. So you're a serial traveler. We was talking about this offline, right?
Yeah.
Where did you just like come in from at the moment?
I came from Milan
mad.
about 3 hours ago. Yeah.
That's crazy. How often are you traveling per month?
About maybe 2 to 3 times a month.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's been more recently than often, but yeah, about two to three times a month.
Okay, how comes? How comes?
Business.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for new opportunities. I'm fulfilling old opportunities. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Always.
Always. People are gonna understand why I'm asking more because
Yeah.
I just mentioned you kind of got like 2 or 3 businesses going on at the moment. You're gonna put on more your plate.
Yeah, I mean, some are related to the businesses that I already do. So Milan was obviously to do with a lot of interior design. I'm working on some projects.
Okay, of course.
Actually in Milan and London at the moment. So I go to maybe, source materials, see what else is out there on the market. But this time in Milan was to see somebody's property, actually. A very interesting property, actually.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Obviously, I kind of described you, but who would you say, who is Darren?
Who is Darren? Like an entrepreneur, I've been pursuing business for a very long time. I started my first business when I was, I would say, 17 going on 18.
Wow.
Yeah. So that business was actually exporting washing powder and paint. Yeah, the most random business, man.
That is
the most random business. It was washing powder and paint to Ghana, actually. To Ghana. So
how did you get that? That's crazy.
So what had happened is one of my uncles and my dad, they always used to complain about the price of washing powder in particular. Right, there was no wholesale washing powder. So what happens is on the streets, I mean, people that are familiar with Ghana or Nigeria, anywhere in Africa, you've got the hawkers that sell these 5 kg packets of soap. And back then, we didn't have like the ShopRites, the games. We didn't have supermarkets like that. You're talking a long time ago, right? 20 years ago, without telling my age, but you're talking a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
And so what happened was I went to Costco and I would buy these Kirkland 25 kg boxes, commercial washing powder of Kirkland commercial washing powder. And then I sent those to Ghana in containers. Yeah. That was my first business. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then of course paint, because there was a lot of development in real estate happening at the time. So it was this white Dulux paint, just white emulsion paint that I used to also sell.
Man, how long were you doing that business for?
For up until I was about 24. So yeah, a while.
Oh, wow, you doing it for a long time?
I was doing it for a long time.
Like just a
no.
here and there?
No. I was doing it for a long time. Yeah.
Okay. We'll circle back to that at some point in the conversation. Were you like whereabouts were you born and where are your parents from?
I was born and raised in London,
Okay.
northwest London. Yeah, I went to school in Graham Park. It's very different now to what
What was
it
it
used
like
to be.
back then?
I mean, Graham Park was a council estate, like a proper
Okay,
estate
I
back
actually
then.
don't know it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Colindale, Beaufort Park, that side where Beaufort Park is now. Graham Park was it was an interesting place. Interesting place. You go
How
to
did you
school.
find it growing up there?
No, it was fine. I mean, it was cool. I had a lot of friends there. We're still friends to today. So
Okay.
yeah, but it's been very gentrified now. It's very different to what it used to be. Like many places.
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
honest.
London
is not the same.
London is,
yeah,
London is
as it
mad
used to
different.
be, man.
Elephant
Yeah.
Castle's different,
Yeah,
Brixton's different,
yeah,
Campbell's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, what were you like in school? Were you into studies and stuff like that?
I just did enough to get by, to be honest.
Why?
Yeah, school again. I think I've got a very short concentration span.
Do you?
Yeah. An
Okay.
Extremely short concentration span, like a mouse, man. Literally, like I have to break things down into like 5-minute segments. Like I can't.
Okay.
Yeah, my concentration span's very short. So school for me was just, if I can do enough to get by,
Yeah.
I'll do enough.
Yeah.
You know?
And then that idea, obviously, you said that you started your business like
Yeah.
17 to 18. What was kind of like the drive to get into business for you?
So I grew up around, again, my father, my uncles. I had a lot of family members and extended family members that were into business, and I just liked the freedom that they had, and also they also had different personalities to other uncles that were working in 9-to-5 jobs. They just had a different aura about them that I appreciated, and I just wanted to follow that. To be honest. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So let's circle back to this first business that you do, and obviously people that may not know this, but you decided to move to Ghana, right?
Yeah.
At what point did you move? Was it whilst you were doing this business or after you had to stop doing the business?
Whilst I was doing this business, but to be honest, the business was it wasn't going the way I wanted it to go. So sending those amounts of, washing powder and paint to Ghana and not being on ground to see where they're being distributed, to see who's collecting your payments from this this buyer, it becomes very cumbersome. And what ended up happening is I started to spend so much time going back and forth to Ghana that it just didn't make no sense anymore. Because essentially what happens is when you're selling these products, you sell them on like a 60-day credit cycle, right? So let's say a hotel, for instance, you supply them 100 cases of this washing powder. They pay you in 60 days. Yeah. Now, if they are late after that 60-day pay cycle, you still got to import that washing powder, and it takes about a month to 6 weeks to get to Ghana from London. So it was messing up my cash flow, because if you're late, you're still, at the end of the 60 days, you're still going to want me to replenish your stock. But then what happened, it was just a mess. Nobody to follow up payments, nobody to really kind of enforce systems. And it made more sense being there, because, of course, you can entrust people on the ground, but nobody would do it how you would want to do it, because it's not their money, right? So,
that's what they always say.
Yeah. When it's not your
like,
money, it's people behave very differently, man.
Yeah, so you went there to enforce a system
initially,
basically.
Yeah, but when I got there, I realized this was a total waste of time. Honestly,
what do you mean? Why is it a waste of time?
It was a waste of time because it was just I had to work too much. I had to work too much, and to me, entrepreneurship is about being more free. So having to work too much and having to solve everybody's problems that you're paying, it just didn't make sense to me. I mean, the
so
reason
you're paying people, and
then you're still having to solve their problems. So
instead of them solving yours.
Exactly. So what's the point in doing it? Because at the end of the month, nobody says, "Oh, here's your paycheck." You're saying to other people, "Here's your paycheck." So it just wasn't a profitable. No, let me not. It was profitable, but it took too much time.
Okay.
And to me, I'm sure anybody will agree, time's more valuable than any money that you can.
I mean, it's very brave though to quit, because a lot of people won't say, "Oh, if something's profitable," they're not going to be like, "Yeah, I'm done with it."
I think there's a right time, and I think it all depends what you're looking for. Again, any business I've done, I've always wanted to scale it. I've always wanted to how can I make this 10 times bigger to what it is today? And if it's taking this much time, there's only 24 hours in a day. So I can't create more time. So what am I going to do to ensure I can grow?
Yeah.
And if you have to call a loss, you call it and you move on. That's the way I see it. I've done many businesses I've closed and not allowed my ego to determine how long I stay in the business. But that comes with time. I don't think you do that initially because, you know, of course, when something's your dream or when something's your passion, you believe, oh, I'm going to stick this through. But there's nothing wrong with saying, I might be an idiot. There's nothing wrong with saying it, you know. It's just about self-auditing, isn't it? And
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So what? So you stopped that.
Yeah.
And then what did you end up doing after? What was the next move for you?
I opened the nightclub.
I think I heard this story on Sound of Accra. Yeah, open nightclub. That's like a 180, though.
Yeah, it was a 180.
So you said you were working too hard and then you opened a nightclub. Isn't a nightclub hard work too?
It is hard work. Yeah, it is hard work. But again, it was the opportunity.
Okay.
Ghana at the time only had one nightclub, which the name was Twist. Shout out to Eric. He's the owner of Twist, still the owner of Twist. And he was the only one that had a nightclub, literally, in the whole city. That was the only nightclub.
In Accra?
Yeah, in Accra. Yeah, and this is 2010, 2011. I mean, Ghana was very different to what Ghana, the Ghana people know today is very different.
Okay.
And so there was an opportunity there, so I opened it.
You opened it, yeah. And how long did you have that going for?
From 2002, ending of 2011, so let's call it 2012 to 2016.
Okay,
4
so
years.
It's about 4 years, yeah. Okay, what happened there?
So the reason we closed it was because I believed I wanted to do another one initially. And the thing about nightclub business, I wanted to close while we were plummeting, while we were at a good pace. Because, you know, nightclubs, it's all about trend, isn't it? So if you close something when you die, you can never resurrect, right? But if you close something while you're still spoken about, if you decide to do something again,
right,
you can do it and people will still entrust that you know what you're doing, that you can still give them the experience that they want. But if you close something when you're declining, when you open something again, people will just remember the last experience that they had in your place. So I didn't want to close it when, and I'd be a fool to believe nightclubs can last forever, right? It's a short-term business. It's not a long-term.
You think so? You don't think that they can last? Or
I think you have to be very, you have to have a lot of initiative. You have to be able to continuously have young people around you. No, but that's the truth.
Fair enough.
I mean, come on. I mean, my peer at the time that we closed, my peers were all starting to get married. They were all starting to have babies.
Fair enough.
These aren't the same people that I can invite. So who's going to invite people to come? Do you understand what I mean?
True.
So you have to be aware of those things. You have to be aware of, the market and its trends. Yeah. So younger people are coming up. People you don't know, people that don't relate to you.
That is very true. Different generation, right?
Different generation. So, and we didn't have this kind of promoter model in Ghana. You know, in other countries, you've got promoters where the owner of the club can have a bunch of promoters come in, take different days and do stuff. So
yeah. How did you find your first few years in Ghana, like adjusting to life coming from the UK?
Tough, man.
Yeah,
tough.
What was tough about it?
Culture shock, because remember, I mean, I never, as a child, I went to Ghana. I didn't go to Ghana often. My parents didn't really take me to Ghana. And you dropped
yourself there by yourself.
Yeah.
That's kind of mad.
Well, and I didn't. Let me know. To say it was all by myself isn't fair. I think I had family there. My dad moved there.
He moved as well.
Yeah, he moved. Probably about 10 years before I had.
Right.
So I did get an insight into what was happening. But yeah, it was tough. It was tough because you're a born and bred London boy. Like you go to Ghana, there's certain things that are normal to you that, weren't so normal anymore, and Ghana's a very kind of cliquey place. It's not. You're an outsider. Well, now it's a bit different. You know, now there's more diaspora there, so you can go, and you can go to a community where you've got people just like you that have moved. And back then, it wasn't a big diaspora community. Do you understand what I mean? There was just very few, and but I was one of the last to stay. Everyone left. Everyone ran.
Why? Because of what?
Because Ghana's not easy, man.
Yeah,
Ghana's
that's why
not
I
an
hear.
easy place to do business and survive in Ghana. From a business perspective, it's not an easy place. There's a lot of sacrifices you have to make.
So how did you
live
survive? Don't we want to know the secret sauce?
Just, I've always been somebody. I always believe in just being the last man standing. I mean, if you're the last man standing, then you can't lose, right?
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint. I think
it's
a
a
lot
marathon,
of people
not
see
a
it as
sprint.
right?
But I think the thing about Ghana is that I didn't know what I was going to come and do in London again.
Right. Okay.
I was right in the middle. I was literally like, if I go back to London, what the hell am I going to do? What business am I going to do? Because the whole reason I left London was because I felt that as a young black man, and I don't like to play the race card, but as a young black man, I think there is a glass ceiling that you reach.
I think in the UK,
in the UK,
I think
definitely in the UK.
I think in the UK,
and exactly, and I think as well, understanding that the kind of things we want, the kind of wealth we want to build and stuff, we are comparing ourselves to people that have been here 200, 300, 400 years.
Yeah,
you know, how do you build a life, build wealth, and lead something for your kids in 60 years? How do you do that?
That's not easy, man. Like you said, competing
it's
against
not.
generational wealth, right?
You're competing against generational wealth. You go into West End, you see all these kids driving the cars they have, owning the houses they have, but they are nothing like you because your parents worked just to help you get to uni.
That's true.
So it was just a kind of a reality check that how do you do all of those things in one lifetime? You can't cheat nature. You cannot. Yeah. You know. So that's why I moved to Ghana.
Okay. So was that like light bulb moment that made you like be like, okay, I'm gonna go into property development, because that's what you ended up doing, right? Ultimately, right? Like, what was that?
So after the nightclub, I had a mentor, and he basically was into property development, and because I knew nightclub was never going to be a long-term business, I wanted to learn under him as to how you go into bigger scale developments. So I worked with him for years, under him, like studying the market, studying how he did things, studying how he negotiated. And I think mentors are so important for anybody, man. If you can have a mentor, it can change your life, man. Yeah. Honestly, because you can take the good and you can also take the bad. You can take the good as to what character traits does this person have that I will adopt, and you can also take the character traits that you don't want. And I think that, I think that's what made me want to go into property development.
Yeah. How long were you working under him for?
I would say it was about maybe 5 or 6 years.
Okay. And what kind of properties was it? The type, was it like luxury?
Yeah, it was luxury.
Luxury properties.
Yeah, it was luxury properties.
That's interesting, right? Because obviously in Africa, right? Like, let me be careful what I say before people come for me. Right. I'm African, so I can even say
it, man. Speak your chest, man.
So obviously, luxury in Africa, right? I don't think people think, you can have luxury. And what years was this when you said this?
We're talking like 2017.
2017, so like what, seven years ago. So luxury in Africa, that's quite bold, and that's also quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Slightly risky, right? Because I would say that you're probably competing against other people who are maybe very well known, maybe been in the game for a while. So, how did you find that?
I think that it's a very small market. I think that somebody has to do it. But I also think that there's a market for everybody. I think in any country, anywhere in the world, there's a market for luxury. There's a market for mid-income. There's a market for affordable housing. And that's just the route we decided to take, you know. So do I think that there's a cap on how much you can grow in that? 100%.
Yeah.
Because
There's a cap there.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Because
interesting.
Ghana has grown, but I don't believe it's grown how it should have. The trajectory that we all, you know, when a lot of the diaspora moved, I don't think it's grown to what we thought it would.
Yeah.
And again, for people that have started coming to Ghana 2019 till now, they see a totally different Ghana to what we see.
Yeah.
They'll see, oh, Ghana's booming, but Ghana's booming to who? Because if
Yeah,
Ghana's
true.
booming because, you know, you have $100 and it's now worth 1,500 cities,
Yeah.
that's not booming.
That's
Because
very true.
yeah,
Not
so
to the people there. Right?
yeah,
Yeah,
so it's what's your perspective when you come into Ghana? How are you looking at it? Do you understand? Doing business in Ghana and enjoying in Ghana are two totally different things.
like coming there for
Yeah,
party
like
once
coming
a
there for
year
2
and,
weeks in
yeah.
Christmas it's totally different to
Yeah.
actually living there. You
Yeah.
know, so that's why I decided to kind of pack my bags and leave it.
Yeah, let's hold yours. Yeah,
Yeah.
This is your opportunities, like your opportunities, and I love it because I
Yeah.
think that's what you got to kind of be. So,
Yeah.
can you talk us through an example of like a recent property development that you kind of did in Ghana? Where was it kind of located? Like, just give it on how long did that take to build, and what was like the value of it?
Okay, so the last property, so the last actual development that is complete, right? I was part of the team that built Number 1 Oxford Street. So
Yeah,
it's,
I heard of that.
yeah,
So
it's-
what's the
it's,
guy's name?
Nana.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
I was
that's-
part of
that's
that
quite
team.
good,
Yeah. That took. We started that in 2000 and we started that in 2018.
Okay.
No, we started that in 2017. Took about 3 years.
Okay. That's quite.
Uh,
Is that quick? Is that
it's average.
decent,
It's
average,
average.
yeah?
It took about 3 years. It was a very difficult project because I mean that's 108 apartments
yeah, that's a lot.
on 0.3 of an acre. So that's a very
Yeah.
very small parcel of land to do that amount of apartments.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
So it must be a quite tall building.
It's
then.
a very tall building.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's 15 floors,
Wow. Okay.
2 floors underground. Yeah.
So what was the challenges? Why is it so difficult?
Just because a lot of so for instance our architects weren't from Ghana, our project managers weren't from Ghana.
Okay.
We brought a team from Portugal, we brought a team from Spain, Italy.
Okay.
And essentially those are the project managers, but then the people that were like the laborers, the masons, the carpenters, they were all local guys. So it was, how do you merge two totally
Cultures.
different types of cultures?
Yeah. Mindset, work
Europeans
ethic,
used to work in a very different type of way to how we were. So that was one of the biggest challenges, I would say. And we imported everything. We imported our marble, we imported our tiles, we imported our doors, we imported.
Is that because you can't produce
To the quality that we
Yeah.
wanted, it wasn't
Okay.
available. Yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
Wow, that's fine. When you said challenges, I was not thinking that you were talking about people from all over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's
challenging.
mad.
It's challenging because when you wanna kind of break a market, you do have to go the extra mile, isn't it?
Yeah.
Huh.
Huh.
So
That's crazy.
yeah.
That is crazy. What do you feel like you learnt though in terms of like your time doing that? Because that's although it was so difficult, it is a huge achievement. I've heard of number 1 Oxford Street. Yeah, it's a big achievement. It's gonna be there for years to come.
Right.
you know?
So I think the biggest lesson I learned was management of relationships. I think, management of relationships, because essentially when you're dealing with a number of egos, you're dealing with a number of people with their own experience in their own fields. You know, people walking off the site saying, "I'm not working with that person ever again." Having to
Really?
convince that person to come back
Is it
and
that
say,
deep?
"Hey," yeah, because you got to remember, somebody's worked in an industry 30 years.
Yeah.
You're telling them to do something a certain way that they're not used to. And they're like, well, no, this isn't how I do it. So how do you convince somebody now to come back on your site to work again? It's quite cumbersome, man.
It seems like you're done with it. We're
Nah,
on this
not
conversation.
done with it. It was
Not
a
done, but
learning
you're like,
experience. Yeah, it was a learning experience for sure, man.
Crazy.
For
So in
sure.
terms of the capital, how did you raise the capital for that?
I was just part of the team.
Oh,
that
you were
built
part of
it.
the team.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
so
was,
obviously
yeah.
the owner of that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
raise the
yeah,
capital.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
And then property investment. Obviously, you did a part of that as well.
Yeah,
How did
yeah.
that come about? And I guess,
So
what did you
property
invest
investment.
in?
I got into property investment because I saw, again, being in the luxury market, I saw there was a gap in kind of more middle income properties.
Right. Okay.
Because of course, if you're working in something every day, you also see the opportunity you are losing, right?
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was we always used to, have meetings with our marketing team. And I remember speaking to the marketing team and saying that when you're logging how much business that we're actually getting, give me also a report on how much business we're losing. Right?
Yeah, fair. Okay.
Because that allows you to see where the opportunity is, right? So what would happen is they would break down, a number of corporates that would say, hey, we need a property within this price range per day or per month or whatever. And obviously in the luxury market, we couldn't give those prices, right? So then I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go into more kind of studios and one bed property investment because I could give those prices that
Okay.
corporates wanted.
Yeah.
A lot of corporates, they come in, they've got a budget, and in doing, my first, my second, my third, my fourth, it started. I just kept on going. I just kept on. I found a method that worked, and I just replicated it literally.
Okay. Oh wow, that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
So okay, so when you were doing obviously the luxury part, like you said, because it was out of budget, you were like, oh, okay, there's an opportunity.
There's a big market for it.
There's a big
market, yeah.
mass market.
Yeah, there's a
basically
mass
for that.
market more from the, $150 a day kind of market.
That's a lot though. $150.
It is still a lot.
It's a lot of money.
Is.
So what is it? Short rentals that
For short rentals, but then you've got like
Okay.
long rentals, maybe 2,000 a month, 2,200 a month.
Wow.
That kind of. Let me not even say that's middle. It's still not middle in Ghana, but it was in comparison to what we were doing. It's middle.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
fair enough.
yeah.
So what was the luxury then?
A lot
10K
more.
a month.
I mean, when you break it down, it could be anywhere from about 6 to 10K because you're doing it per day because it's a service department, isn't
Yeah.
it? So,
okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. Because it's luxury. Okay.
Right.
Cool. So at its peak, how many kind of short lets were you kind of doing for in total? Do you know?
With my property,
with your property stuff. Yeah.
how many properties?
Yeah.
I mean,
You don't want to say.
I won't say, but I mean enough to fulfill my opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So enough money
Yeah.
to be able to fund yourself
Yeah.
in Ghana. Okay, cool.
yeah,
Okay, it
yeah.
must have been. Wow, the opportunity. The opportunity cost. Damn.
Yeah.
Luxury guys, man, they lost a lot of money there.
No, luxury they didn't. I think again, like I said, it's what at the beginning. I remember I said to you is what's scalable. What can you scale? What can you sustain? What can you kind of grow with? Luxury, of course. If there's only a certain market for it, you're gonna reach.
Yeah.
You're gonna reach a cap. But with a lower market, your tentacles can spread further.
Yeah. So how does it in terms of financing a property work in Ghana? Is it do you have to put the whole cash down? Or is it you can put a deposit down and etc.?
So usually the way off plan works is you put 25% down.
Okay.
And then for the period of the development, you pay the remaining 75%. We don't have mortgages in Ghana like that.
Okay, so pretty much is 100% cash.
100% cash, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
That's
intense.
tough.
It's intense.
That's
It's intense.
tough,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ghana's very intense for that.
Yeah.
There are some mortgages, but the interest rates are just mad. They're mad, and you literally have to. Your collateral that you put down is basically the value of what you're borrowing. So what's the point putting it down? Basically, it's just
Kind of crazy.
It's a backwards. Yeah, but we don't have a credit system. We don't have a credit score system. We don't really have. I mean, we just implemented like an address system, right? Literally. We've only had addresses. You asked me 10 years ago, where do I live? I couldn't tell you my address. I could just tell you I'm by
That's
the woman that
crazy.
sells coconuts. Literally.
Yeah.
Like, so, yeah.
Wow. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Gosh. Obviously, like some of the main concerns that people have, right, investing in Africa, and I know this happens to somebody I know. I don't want to say I don't think everything can always get seized, but I know somebody where government was like, oh, like this is us, you got to pay us 10K
Yeah,
or whatever,
there's,
right?
there's different,
You know, so
horror
people
stories.
have those kind of fears, right, around it. Or if you're buying from somebody, but actually the person you're buying is not, they don't even own it, it's somebody else that owns it, and come back and like claim it, right? I guess what's your thoughts on that, and how did you kind of overcome the fear of, you know, going through something like that of, okay, I'm investing in this, but you know,
I think any advice I would give is that don't believe saving money is always the best thing.
okay,
Sometimes pay the money and buy the problem.
okay,
Some people, what happens is there are people that offer services that will, you know, do proper property searches, do the necessary due diligence for your property or your land that you're buying. But sometimes what happens is somebody gets direct contact to, you know, the landowner and then, or the chief, and then they believe that, oh, I'm about to save 20,000 or this, so let me be smart and cut the middleman out.
right,
But there's a middleman for a reason. And the middleman is to make
Okay.
sure that 20,000 you think you're saving, they're coming to hammer you again. The 20,000 you thought you saved, you're going to pay times 4 in litigation, in whatever it is. So sometimes just buy the problem and pay the premium for your peace of mind, because it's not always saving money. Not saving money, but believing that, okay, I'm direct to source now. So now, when you're in a country like that, we don't have, you know, your Zillows and your you know, Zooplers and that can tell you every house on this street is meant to cost 100,000. We don't have that. You can have 2 next door neighbors where somebody's calling $1 million and the other person's calling 200 grand.
Swear
It just
down.
depends who needs the money at the
Crazy.
time. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we don't have those kind of structures. So if there are people that have done the legwork to assist you, then go with those people.
Okay.
Don't try and
So it's
cut
worth
them
this
out, man.
payment with the service, yeah.
Payment to pay it, because you'll end up losing more.
Yeah.
You know, You'll end up
Wow.
losing more.
So if you were to start again
Yep.
in property
Yes.
development and investing, I guess what would be your advice to your younger self, and what would you do differently?
I would have tried to start earlier.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I would have tried to start earlier, even if it wasn't by myself, then with a group of people, of trusted individuals, and started earlier.
Okay.
Of course, like I said, Ghana's changed a lot.
Mm.
Well, I mean, the world has changed a lot. Let me not even say Ghana.
Yeah.
The world's changed a lot, where things are a lot more expensive for people today than they were
Yeah.
back then. And the appreciation was so much more. Outside of the rental value and the returns you're getting annually, the appreciation on your properties was a lot more. So yeah, I would have started earlier.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
think that there's still an opportunity in Ghana? Or do you think that opportunity in property is kind of...
No, I think there still is, but I think if you go with if you go with the right developers, I think there's a lot of different developers coming now. Some that don't have any track record, uncompleted buildings, people selling off plan but not necessarily finishing.
That's crazy. That's mad risky.
Yeah, so for the people that are investing now, go to the right people. You know, go to the right people. Do your due diligence. Who's been around? Who's got a track record? Who's got more than 2 developments? Right? Because if they do it the 3rd time, they're not lucky. First time, luck. Second time, we skimmed it, right? Or we were winging it. 3rd time,
Yeah.
these guys, they mean business. You know, first time developers is more for people that have been on the ground for a long time, because they know what to look out for. But if you're not from Ghana and you're looking to invest, then go with people that have done a few developments. Yeah.
Do you think though that more of us should go back to Africa? Because I feel like I know you say that like in 2017 there was a bit of a lot of us from the UK, probably US going back there, but I don't know. I feel like, let me not say the hype, but I feel like I don't hear too much about people going back there and actually developing
moving
a
back
base.
or
Actually
or
just developing a base, not even moving back, but just it's like I'm thinking of there's a word for it, right? It's like having a multi-base. You don't have just one base. It's not just London. It's not just the US. It's not somewhere in Europe. But you're also establishing something back home. Do you think more of us need to be doing that?
1,000,000%. If the opportunity arises, I think everybody that has any form of heritage, or even not direct heritage, or at least somebody that they can relate to or communicate with out there, I do believe so. Okay. And I think so because COVID showed us that the world can change overnight, man. If you look at the way people travel now, right, compared to before, people travel a lot more now. People travel to places they would have never ordinarily traveled to, and that's only because they were locked up for 2 years, not because of anything else. Literally, that's why people travel now. But that should show us that the world, nowhere's safe, man. It's like the more you move, the more that if things went, tits up, you at least have an option, not necessarily just Ghana I'm talking about, but I'm just talking about in general. Yeah. The more you see, the more you know, and the more knowledge you have, the more confidence you'll have that if things weren't going right for you where you are, of course people have responsibilities of different magnitudes, right? But at least knowing that there is a plan B. I think it's important. Yeah.
I think it's important, right? Like you say you go home, you travel, you go on holiday, but where you staying, are you getting to know people there? You build a network there. I think it's quite important to be able to do that. And even though, like you said, that there are challenges, right? The thing for me, right, is like someone's got to do it, right? Someone's got to do the hard grunt work, right? I always have this conversation with people like, Dubai 30 years ago was nothing. It
was nothing,
right? Somebody had to do it to become a Dubai.
That's a perfect example.
Dubai's in Africa.
That's a perfect example. And again, COVID made people more. Look at the amount of people from the UK that have moved to Dubai now. It's insane.
It's absolutely I know insane. A lot of people in the last 2-3 years, and more are going all the time. So it's crazy. So so obviously you decided to leave Ghana. What happened? You kind of spilled it a little bit, but why did you decide to leave Ghana?
So Ghana, again, post-COVID, it was the reality check of Ghana is not an economy where it will mend itself in 1 year, 2 years, right? And it was kind of just saying to myself that, well, am I willing to kind of wait for the country to kind of build itself back up again? Again, Ghana will forever be my home, but in terms of just business opportunities, I wanted to seek some elsewhere. So I just literally said, well, I'm going to go and do business in America now. So
okay. Yeah. Why America though? Of all places in the world.
So again, I think that what moving to Africa did for me is it allowed me to understand the basic fundamentals of economies, right? That's what it did for me. Because you're working with a very virgin economy. So you get to understand what supply and demand is. You get to understand what peaks and troughs are to a degree to a very deep level, because it's such a virgin economy. And when you look at economies, then you start to appreciate economies that have been built and how sustainable they are. That's what happens. And America, to me, was a very sustainable economy for business. Yeah. How do I scale? Like I said, I keep on going back to scaling. America was an economy that I saw opportunity to scale what I wanted to do. So that's why.
Cool. And he decided to start a hospitality business, right? What can you give us an overview of what the hospitality business it is and why hospitality, again, is very different to property.
To property. I mean,
Yeah.
so again, with a bit of experience from the nightclub back then, I always wanted businesses that, you know, can kind of assist your cash flow, right? And hospitality essentially does that. Real estate business is very different. When you're building, you don't see a dime until you have a tenant, right? Or you finished a product to sell, right? So you can go 2-3 years without seeing nothing, right? And if you're lucky,
Yeah.
when you're finished, somebody will buy and move in, or rent and move in. But hospitality was something that you daily can plan your kind of trajectory, you know, and that's why I wanted to go into hospitality.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the story is not so simple.
No.
You're not in the US though, right?
I'm not in the US.
Explain this to us. What's going on? So a US company, but not in the US.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So the US, I mean, for people that are watching this, they'll know that the US is, because it's such a strong economy, they don't make it so easy to get into the country, right?
I know. Yes.
So essentially what's happened is myself and my business partner, shout out to people know him as Booch, that's my business partner, we actually left Ghana together, and we started going to and from America a lot, and the way the visa process works is your business has to be open 75% before you can apply for this. It's called an E2 visa. So on applying, we were both denied our visas first time round. So moving to Mexico City was a decision purely by default, because we needed to find a way to open our business being on the same time zone as America. Initially, that was the reason we moved to Mexico City, because I would say that we were probably about 5 months out of opening. We've got a restaurant lounge there. It's called Maya Lounge in Houston. Okay. And we were 5 months out from opening. And of course, we had planned that, we're going to get our visas. Everything's going to be cool. We go, we hire a manager, we open, everything's all roses, right? But that didn't happen. So what are you going to do? You can't be 8 hours ahead, because every time someone calls you with an issue and you have to make a critical decision, you can't be tired. Yeah. You need to be on the same time zone to be able to critically think, give, good instruction on what to do next. So the closest place on the same time zone was Mexico City.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. I didn't want to go to Cancun because it was just too much like a vacation place. I didn't want to go to Tulum because it's basically a jungle. And Mexico City made the most sense. So that's how I ended up from last March. Yeah. I've been living in Mexico City. Yeah.
How are you dealing with all of this? You're dealing with a business that's in America. Are you having to travel from Mexico to the States, or is it like you have somebody there that's
so I can't actually. So when you apply for this visa, you can't actually go into the United States. It's only when you've had the visa approved you can go to the United States.
How are you dealing with
that?
That's
so
tough,
I mean, you learn to deal with it when you're in it, right? It's become like a normality now, honestly.
Okay.
At the time, can I say it was easy? No.
Yeah.
It was not easy, because you've got a business that is sitting there waiting to be open. So we've had to be very resourceful.
Right. So the business is not open yet.
No, it's open.
It's open. Without you being there.
Yeah.
Who opened it?
So we were able to. We hired a general manager.
Okay.
Literally on a Zoom. Never met them in person.
Wow.
And literally just were on the phone every day with contractors.
That's
with
great.
Centerpoint. Centerpoint is like the electric people of the city. Installing gas meters, this, that, construction, talking to the construction people, doing video calls. Okay, put the LED light there, do this, do that. I mean, we had to do that.
That is epic. I can't even lie. That's epic to be able to start a business that you haven't seen.
Honestly, it's only now.
Yeah.
I would say I wouldn't have it any other way. Honestly, now.
Yeah.
At the time, I was like, this is impossible. But it's only now that I wouldn't have it any other way, because the way I see it now is that if you can open one without being there, you can open 100.
Exactly.
Literally. So
Right, yeah.
my mentality to the business has changed drastically. You think 10 steps ahead constantly. You have to, because you've got people that you don't necessarily know running your business, you know. So I have another business partner actually. He's in a totally different industry, but he's in a totally different industry, right? So for all three of us, it was very it was tough. We had to be on the phone all the time. I mean, you know, he held it down as much as he could hold it down in Houston, but essentially it was problem solving every single day.
Yeah.
So what's funny now, when my phone rings and, you know, somebody presents a problem, you become so numb to problems. You just become so addicted to solutions. You don't problems aren't anything anymore. It's just, okay, what's the solution?
Yeah.
You know? So yeah.
That's incredible. And why I say it's epic is because of the reason you just said. It just shows, I think when you're put into a tight spot, you have to learn to be resourceful, and you have to learn how to basically became a better hirer.
Right.
You were able to hire somebody that you knew.
We're still learning. We're still learning, but
we're always learning.
Yeah, we're always
try.
learning. We're always learning.
We try,
yeah.
but you obviously you got it open without being physically there, right?
Yeah,
so, like
so
you said, right, if you want to open it, I don't know, somewhere across the world in Australia, you don't want to have to like fly 26 hours,
right,
or however long you gotta go to be like, okay, I've got to open it. You've kind of almost got a blueprint of how to.
Yeah, we're still building the blueprint.
Yeah,
I mean, we'll be 1 year. October 14th will be 1 year open.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially, it's now looking for new locations to start doing more, because essentially the plan is to do more restaurant lounges, then move into kind of like boutique hotels.
Okay. Restaurant lounges within boutique.
No.
Within.
Just boutique hotels, independent.
Okay.
When I say hospitality, I'm talking about food, beverage, and also hotels, service departments. Yeah, in the US. Yeah.
Wow, it's so interesting. You could open a US company in the US, but they don't let you come in. That's kind of weird. They don't mind taking the money, but
well, I mean, you know, it's a great economy, isn't it? So I think what happens is so essentially it's not, if it was easy, everybody would do it. You know, and I think America, the way it works is once you're in, the opportunities present themselves. Yeah.
What do you want to achieve with the hospitality business? What's like the overall vision for you?
Overall vision is essentially, you know, to build something that is acquirable.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the overall vision, if I'm honest.
Okay, so to build, to sell,
eventually.
Yeah.
Okay. If not the whole thing, then at least a good portion of it, because you don't want to be. It's a very intense business. So I mean, we spoke about it before about the initiative and stuff. So it's more about building something where, you know, in the next kind of decade, you could say, okay, we've built our systems. This is our thing. Highest bidder, who wants to give us our money, you know.
Okay.
Because, you know, black businesses in America, that when you look at the facts and the statistics, a lot of black businesses aren't really acquirable. And I think that's just down to, you know, structures and different kind of factors. But I think building something that can be acquirable is always, to me, is always a better way of doing stuff.
Yeah, I think that's because a lot of people kind of they want to be the center of the business. They build the business around them. Yeah, they don't systemize it.
Ego.
Yeah, there's an ego thing. Can't relinquish control.
Yeah,
that's hard. How did you relinquish control? Because you had to do that.
I mean, that was by default, but any business had to. I take my ego out of it. Honestly, I take my ego out because the business is bigger than you. Yeah, you know. So I'm not a person. I'll go into my business and command certain things. You know, if there's somebody running your business, then respect the parameters, because they're running your business. They know things that happen that you don't know in your business. So how do you go into your business and then say, hey, do this, do that? Of course, there's certain things that you want your business to look like, certain things that you want your business to achieve. But there are a lot of intricate details that your management, your supervision, you don't know what they do. That's what you're essentially hired them to do. So as long as they do a good job, be happy with that.
Yeah.
And don't always try to make it about you. I mean, it's not about you.
Yeah. So talk to me about the pros and cons of relocating, because you kind of did it not once but twice. Some people don't even I've never relocated. I mean, it's on the list, but some people that can't even, it's on their bucket list, but it's difficult, it's a challenge. So how have you kind of done that yourself?
I think this one was a lot easier because of course you have a lot of experience from the last time, right? You've acquired a lot more wisdom from your last relocation, right? So this one, I've enjoyed the process a lot more than the first time. You know, they say when you do something the first time, it's like, you know, that's the hardest one, isn't it? And after that, it becomes a lot easier.
Yeah. Okay. So you're also looking at real estate in Mexico.
In Mexico, yeah.
Opportunities. How do these opportunities come about? Like
Mexico was pure accident, but being there, your eyes are open, isn't it? Your eyes are open. You're like, wow, this place is very similar to Africa. It's very similar to, you know, places I've been in Africa, but they've got a bit more structure. They've got a bit more structure. So, you know, they've got a proper mortgage system.
They got mortgage.
Yeah.
Okay, mad.
Interest rates are a lot lower. So that's an opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's an opportunity, and it's still early. Mexico City is a really growing economy. Going to places early is exciting because you can see the development, you can see things changing. You know, some predictions may be wrong, but some predictions are always right, also right as well. And in doing that, I think the earlier you go somewhere where you can see opportunity, you have some influence eventually when you figured stuff out, because eventually people are going to say, oh yeah, Mexico City's lit. Yeah, we're going to Mexico City. But by that time, you've done all your groundwork.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Just like Ghana. Yeah. You know, Ghana was a place that at one point you know everything that's happening. You know every single thing that's happening. So once you're one of the kind of the first to go, take the risk, acquire the knowledge, not only can you share it, but you can also benefit greatly from it because you've walked the walk, you know. So
what opportunities are you kind of seeing for yourself? Is it that you want to have the business that you're doing in the US, in Mexico, or
so both? So both hospitality and also real estate investment, because again, they have a lot of systems and kind of initiatives that the government's put in to accommodate, you know, like joint income mortgages and stuff like that. So for instance, building or acquiring, you have a lot. You can flip your properties a lot quicker. Because of course you've got a mortgage system in Ghana. If you want to liquidate your properties, it's a lot harder because you have to have somebody that has the physical cash, unless they're from the diaspora and they've maybe taken a personal loan from where they're from, and so the market's a lot bigger. The market's a lot bigger, and a lot of, like, you know, company headquarters and stuff are moving to Mexico now because it's so close to the border of, I mean, it borders Arizona, it borders Texas,
California as well.
It borders California. So a lot of companies are realizing that there's a lot of trade to be done in Mexico.
You think you'll be there long term, or is it like, okay, do your thing and then bounce to... Where's the next location, actually? Have you thought of it?
No, I haven't, honestly.
Okay,
I haven't thought about it, but Mexico is definitely a few years of a plan.
Okay, so you got to be there for a little bit. Okay, so talk to me about Darren Bond Design, right? So that's another. So in terms of your total amounts of business, how many do you have at the moment? Are you working on? Would you say actively?
Two mainly.
Two. So you're
So there's Mocha Group, which is the hospitality company that Maya Lounge is directly under, and then there's Darren Bond Design.
Okay, so
I mean, property investment isn't really a business, isn't it?
Okay, cool. So how are you finding that the design business? Obviously, you do interior design. I'm assuming that came for your love for
Real estate.
doing real estate, right? Development, right? So again, why did you decide to obviously then start that? At what point in this journey did you start that?
I've been doing it.
Oh, you've been doing it the whole time.
I've been doing
Okay.
it, but I never
Okay.
turned it into a business. It was always friends. Hey, Darren, I've just bought a villa. Could you do this for me? Hey, Darren, I'm buying a few apartments. Could you do this for me? Hey, Darren, I'm developing a hotel. Could you do this for me? That's how it was.
Okay.
And it was just Darren. It wasn't,
Yeah.
a company. So Darren Bond Design was kind of birthed out of actually, having something where when you meet people, you can actually say you do something, right? Because every one of my businesses is so elusive. But I wanted to have a business that I can actually, when I meet somebody, I can say, this is what I actually do. Because when you say property investment, it's so elusive. Okay, wait. When you say hospitality group, it's so elusive. I don't have a product to sell,
Yeah.
and I wanted a product to sell.
Okay.
Something that can be associated directly with myself, and that's why I started Darren Bond Design.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
I love that. So I guess where does that passion come from for that? The design, where does that come from? I mean, it's a long way from selling powder.
From selling, yeah. So, I think that came from just after doing a few kind of development projects, that was the most exciting part of the project. Concrete, the foundation, all of that is boring. It's not interesting, right?
Yeah.
The final parts, when it's like, okay, you've got your shell up, what's it going to look like? When you look at an empty room, what is it going to look like? That's where I used to get excited. I get excited at, mixing different materials. I get excited at mixing different colors. That's what excited me. So, I mean, again, in the projects that I do, I do mainly kind of modern, kind of contemporary, very kind of luxury, high-end designs.
Okay.
But I enjoy doing it. I enjoy doing it. So that's where the passion came from, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
I guess what's the vision for that business? Obviously, you said for your hospitality, you want to build it and sell, but for Darren Bond Design, I mean, it's got your name in it as well.
It's got my name in it, yeah. So again,
Yeah.
this was a personal product that I wanted to kind of create, something that essentially I could put a signature to. Because, like I said, hospitality group you can't have a personal signature to. Real estate investment you can't have a signature to. So Darren Bond Design was something that I could actually have a signature.
Okay, so it's to have like an actual, like you say, like an is it like an app or do you mean product from that perspective?
Like just
Something
a
like
product
branding,
like
sort
some
of,
level
yeah.
of branding, some
Yeah.
level of again, if you ask somebody what do they do, right? I've always found this the most difficult question to answer, because I feel like when we say the word entrepreneur is used so loosely, right? Anybody can say they're an entrepreneur, anybody,
Technically, yeah.
right? So what does it actually mean, right? But Darren Bond Design was more so I had a business that I could say I actually do. That it's like tomorrow we can talk business, So there's a lot of people I've met, when I travel, that I noticed that when I was, in different rooms, I never had a product. So I can meet all these very impressive people, but property investment, hospitality, I'm doing that anyway, right? So there was nowhere we kind of had a middle ground,
Right.
So all these people, but you're not converting it into nothing. So what's the point? So that was more to kind of, okay, cool. How do I make this into a business? How do I make this into something? It's great knowing people, but
yeah, it's great having a big network. but
Yeah.
How do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
find that interesting. So how important is discipline for you in managing two businesses? Because it's quite tough. I mean, like we will speak about this offline. Some people can't even do one on their own. So how important is discipline for you?
it's everything, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, discipline's everything, man. I think discipline is important because it's the only thing that separates you from it separates doers from talkers, right? So discipline allows you to kind of constantly work towards a goal, right? Even if it's just habits you have daily that are they're totally irrelevant to your business, right? But just having habits, good habits, I think contributes a lot to your opportunities. Because I'm a heavy believer in compound interest. I believe in the more you repeat doing something that's good, something comes out of it. So if it's that you're a serial networker and you say, okay, every Friday I'm gonna dedicate 2 hours to networking, you do that for enough years, you'll meet the people you want to meet. If you say you're going to go to the gym and I want to achieve this physique, if you do that for this many years, you're an achiever. So I think discipline is everything, man. Honestly, yeah.
So I guess for you, what are the principles and rules that you follow that have led you to obviously be successful in what you're doing in investing and now launching your hospitality business?
Just showing up even when you don't want to be honest. Yeah, just showing up. Just showing up. Some days you'll be 50%, some days you'll be 10%, some days you'll be 100%, but just showing up. I think showing up, I always like to use the gym as an example because it's like, sometimes you don't want to go to the gym. You go, even if you did 10 minutes, when you walk out, the level of satisfaction you get is a good level of satisfaction, right? So always showing up, I think, is important to me.
Yeah. On your website, you had pursuit of excellence. That kind of stuck out to me. What's driving that pursuit of excellence for you?
Knowing that, I've said this before, but every day you wake up, there's somebody that wishes they had your problems. And every day you wake up, there's somebody that wants what you have. So if you're constantly pursuing, at least you can know that if things didn't work out for you, then at least you did your best. Rather than questioning, oh, what if I did this 10% more? What if I did this 5% more? So I think pursuit of excellence is more to do with just constantly striving for the best of yourself, because then nobody can take that from you.
Yeah.
Nobody can take
That's
that from
true.
you. And when you internally know that you did your absolute best, you can go to sleep at night and say, maybe that just wasn't for me. Or, maybe I should, you never question yourself. You're always very sure of the decision that you've taken.
What do you think is stopping people, though, from doing their best and, let's say, procrastinating and not following through with action? Because, we're both entrepreneurs, right? And I guess what separates us from people who are not entrepreneurs is that we do what we say we're going to do. But a lot of people have ideas, right? And I've said this on the podcast before. It was Les Brown. He's one of my favorite motivational speakers. And he was saying something around the graveyard. It's kind of morbid, but he said the graveyard is the greatest place on earth because it has the most ideas, essentially, right? So what do you think is kind of stopping people from taking action?
I think it's fear. I think it's a lot of fear. Fear of criticism, fear of failing. But failing isn't necessarily, it's all perspective. Again, I think it's all how you look at things, right? I don't want to be cliche and say glass half full, and I don't want to say all of that. But what I will say is how you look at things is so important, because if you do something and it doesn't work, it doesn't necessarily mean you weren't good at it. It doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't for you. All it means is you might just have to change your strategy. What lesson did you take from that if it didn't work? I think having the enthusiasm even when things didn't work is so important, because a lot of people, they try something once and then they lose their enthusiasm, like their self-esteem, because it didn't work. But if you lose that enthusiasm, you have to have that enthusiasm for every single thing that you do. You have to treat it as if, this is the one that's going to change my life. If it doesn't, then okay, it's like, cool, I tried. I did everything I bet. Okay, and you find another opportunity. Let me give it the same enthusiasm as I was. Women are the best at it. Women, I mean, they can have their heart broken. They can have, but when they enter a new relationship, their enthusiasm is just as good as their last one, no matter what they went through. So I think having that enthusiasm all the time is important.
How do you do that?
Do what?
Keep your enthusiasm for the days where it's tough, especially.
Just, again, knowing that this next one could be the one.
Okay. So you
Yeah.
think so like the excitement of this next thing
Yeah,
could
yeah,
be
yeah.
put me over the edge.
Yeah, 100%.
Interesting.
100%. Again, compound interest. I
Yeah.
believe in that. I'm a serious advocate for that.
Mm.
Honestly, doing business, it doesn't matter what, how many times you're doing business, you're still doing business, right? So if you do business 100 times and you know the 99th time is the one that worked for you, you were still doing business. Nothing changes.
Yeah.
But it's just that one move that you made could change your life, literally. You know, so
Love it.
yeah,
I love
yeah.
it. So obviously when we spoke, right, you were saying that more people need to work together, which I believe in, right? This is why I think one of the reasons why I kind of do the podcast, because I get to collaborate with people,
Right.
and have these great conversations that we're having like today, right? And we need to abandon the crabs in a bucket mentality. Do you want to elaborate more on your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned it before. I think group economics is so important, and I think, you know, one thing we do is we always try to recreate something that we can see works. We've seen the Asians do it. We've seen the Chinese do it. We've seen the Italians do it. We've seen the Greeks do it. We've seen the Polish do it. We've seen so many different communities do it. But somehow we are so special that we believe we should do something different. And we believe I want to own 100% of the company because I'm the biggest boss in the world. No, you're not. You're not the smartest. People came before you. People did better than you, right? Why aren't we copying methods that work? It just doesn't make sense to me. You see something that's working, you copy it. It's not hard. Fine. Everybody wants to be the king of the hill, no problem. But everybody can be the king of the hill in their own private time. But are you getting the results that you want?
Yeah.
Are you moving out of your parents' house too early? Are you doing certain things that other people, other communities don't look down on that thing? You know, the Asian community, people live in their houses until they're married. Literally, right? But we look down on certain things. You see so much on social media of, oh, I can't, you know, date somebody that didn't. Shut up. Shut up. You who are you? You get what I'm saying? Like it's we give all of these fake perceptions of what works for us, but nothing's working. So what are you talking about? What are you talking about? It's just, the facts are in, the proof is in the pudding. The facts are there. Asians own the most real estate in the UK.
Wow.
They
did not
are,
know that.
yes.
That's crazy.
It came out recently.
Wow.
Now, Asians, if you look at their model is, okay, how much you got? You got 1,000? How much you got? You got 500? Okay, cool. This is how much house costs. This is what the deposit costs. Okay, everyone bring your money. Let's do it. They do not mind, even if their return is £50, they'll take it, because it's better to have that percentage of the pie than to be staying here trying to save your money. Something comes, a bill comes, you go back down.
Yeah.
Invest when you can, you know, and they've all adopted that model, but for some reason we haven't. And it's really interesting, man. I don't understand what it is, but I think it needs to change for us to really see a change in our economy. Because honestly, unpopular opinion, but I don't believe there's racism in wealth. I don't believe it.
Okay.
I don't believe it.
Talk to me more about that. That's it. Interesting.
I don't believe it. Yeah.
Wait, so you're saying, okay. So you're saying...
Unpopular opinion.
It's fine. So you're saying, in terms of when we say wealth, are we talking about when you have money, you don't believe there's racism? Is that what you mean? Or?
I believe that the more... Okay, I'll give an analogy so it's simple to understand. So when you go to central London now, right? 20, 30 years ago, I mean, let me use 20 years ago, you would never see somebody of color living in central London.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Now you do. And when I say somebody of color, I don't necessarily mean a black person. I mean, they could be from India. They could be from it, right? Now, if your neighbors, right, let's say you've got one, white family and both their neighbors to the left are Indian, and both their neighbors to the right are Indian. Right? The things that you see, the things that you talk about, you get to actually understand somebody's culture because you're in the same vicinity. Right? We haven't been in those situations yet. As black people, we haven't. Do you understand? We'll be one of 100, right? That one black person that you see might be living in in Mayfair. They're one of 100, right? There's not enough of us in these environments where it's like they're actually not that bad. you get what I'm saying? I think that's what it. And when I say there's no racism in wealth, is that people are now becoming more afraid to talk against. It's very rare now that you see the old school bigots say very vulgar words to Asian people now. And the reason being is because I don't know, when I go for my job interview, is that if that Asian person is going to be my boss.
Okay.
So I'm scared.
Interesting.
But the moment you, as a black person, are in a position that you can also employ, people will become a lot more careful into what they say about you. In my opinion, unpopular opinion, you're probably going to get a lot of comments that will have a lot, but I'm still going to say it anyway because
Speak your mind. Look, on the podcast, I let people speak their mind. That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying in terms of, I think I have heard some people say when you are quite wealthy, there's kind of no, in terms of racism, it doesn't happen as often. I have heard that, so I understand the point where you're coming from. I was going to say something else that you were saying in terms of working together, right? Oh, that was it. Where people kind of say, what was it? Oh, I'm not going to be with a certain people. I think that's because people are not willing to sacrifice. That's number one, right? And there's an ego thing. Yeah.
Ego, 100%.
Because at the end of the day, I think that we all have to sacrifice a certain degree to get, if you're self-made, you have to sacrifice.
Yeah.
And a lot of black people are going to be self-made. It is what it is. If if you're coming from a wealthy background, that doesn't apply to you. But to expect to be self-made and you do nothing to be self-made, and I don't think a man or woman, either or, should expect nobody to sacrifice to be that. If you want to, for me as well, I think also let me use LeBron as an example, because obviously he's been with his partner for a while, right? He wasn't LeBron straight away. Right? Yeah. And, what if she was like, oh, well, actually, you're not going to be nothing. Let's say, is this silly thought? Because obviously he was always going to be something. But she could have very easily been like, oh, I'm going to go with whoever isn't, who's there now, right? They do that. You have to sacrifice to kind of thing. You have to you reap what you sow, in my opinion, right? Yeah. With these kind of things. So
every king was once a servant, man. Literally. Every king was once a servant. So I think that's the mentality that we haven't adopted. And this, I think the sooner we also understand that the more you own, the more say you have. Tomorrow, if a black kid stabs somebody on the street, if you own the newspaper, you're going to say a 16-year-old boy stabbed the kid. You're not going to say a 16-year-old black boy.
Yeah, okay.
And you have to remember, everybody that owns these big establishments, if you're not them, why should they look out for you? Let's be honest. Yeah, we can all sit here and say humanity should respect humanity, but that's not the way things work. We know the game we're playing. We know the exact game we're playing. So if you know the game that you're playing, then why are you still complaining about the rules? Why? For what? You accept it for what it is, and what can you do to actually make a change of it? So that's why when I say there's no racism in wealth, I think it's what do you have control over? And then what can you also communicate to the public? Because you have to remember that everything that goes out about black people is, as soon as you're from Africa, you're poor or you need, right? Because the perception that everybody has is that we're all trying to cross borders to find opportunities of small jobs. And I think when you constantly push that perception out, if you see you or me on the street, you will just put us all in the same box.
Yeah.
You know, so I just think we need to focus on grouping together and owning more. Yeah. Honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important. We need to own more property, more businesses, all of that.
Yeah. Then we can kind of change the perception of what we are, you know.
Okay, great. No, Darren, it's been a great conversation.
Yeah, it has.
You got interesting journey, you know, very interesting journey. But I like that you're very driven, and I really appreciate your mentality. And I think you didn't really say it out loud, but it's quite brave, to be honest with you, right? To relocate to two countries. Like I said, I've been wanting to do that. I know how hard it is. The fear, you know. How did you overcome that fear? That's like my final question. How did you overcome the fear?
That one is just doing what needs to be done, honestly.
Yeah. But I mean, anybody can say that.
Yeah,
just do it, but
but that's what I'm saying. It's doing what needs to be done. It's if you need to do it, or you feel the need to do it, then do it.
Yeah.
Because what's the worst that can happen?
True.
Honestly, what's the worst that can happen?
Just come back to the UK.
You just come back to the UK and then get on and you start where you left off. What? Then what? You know. And the thing is, once you've done it, then once you see things from a different perspective, it's easier to say, "Oh shit, I'm not sorry, I'm not going back to that." You know, but you have to leave it to know what you're not going back to. If you're in it, you don't see it. Once you leave it, you're like, you can make the decision and be like, nah, you know, I preferred what I had. Yeah. You know? So.
Love that. So, okay, where can people find you? Obviously, they want to connect with you, reach out to you and stuff like that.
So you can find me at my Instagram's Darren Bond 007. I am actually starting a YouTube now.
Are you? Okay. Yeah. Go on. Share your YouTube channel.
It'll be Darren Bond also. I'm going to start releasing some YouTube stuff just to talk more about kind of my journey. And I've never been really one for public speaking. So I'm going to start talking more about my journey and showing more of my work.
Okay. Good. Because people will come from here, by the way. I hope you know that. So just be prepared. I always tell the guests, be prepared for that, because that's gonna happen. You know, it's been great having this conversation.
Man. Thanks for having
Darren.
me. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Really enjoy listening story, and definitely want to have another conversation with you 6 months to a year, see how the business see where you expand, see where you're living as well. Do you have any final words for the watchers and listeners?
Final words, I would just say, let's get together, man. Let's get together and achieve great things. Honestly, that's really it.
Thank you so much, Darren.
Yeah.
Thank you, watchers and listeners, for tuning into this episode of podcast. See you next week's episode.